Hey everyone, welcome to Yesshift, also being simulcast onto Drum Talk TV. I am Steven Schinder, and this is my dad, Dan Schinder. I have to make sure I'm pointing in the right direction. And we are joined by a couple guests from the new Asia lineup, Harry Whitley and John Mitchell. How's it going over there for you two?
It's going.
It's good. Yeah, we're having a good time.
Yeah,
all of the time. Yeah,
Asia lives on. This is so exciting.
Yes,
it does.
Yes, it does.
It's alive. To do so. It is alive. Yes.
Yeah. So we'll get to the topic of the concert last year that honored John Wetton that sort of set all this in motion. But first, we'd like the audience to hear a bit about further back. So starting with you, John, you performed with John Wetton in 2003 as documented on the Amarata video. How did you meet John Wetton and how did that come about?
Well, I started playing with John in around 2000. Actually, it was
okay.
It was well, you know, in the United Kingdom, obviously there is a progressive rock scene, as it were, I suppose. And I at the time we were doing some shows with the band I play in called Arena, and John was sort of doing a lot of acoustic gigs around about the time, just going out solo and performing acoustically. And he came and did a show in Holland with us. I think it was at the Paradiso in Amsterdam. And he kind of watched our gig, and he liked my playing. And then a couple of days, or I don't know, it's about a couple of weeks later, actually, I got a phone call from a guy called John Jowett, who was the bass player in Arena. I don't think he was the bass player in Arena at that time, but he was still friends with John, and he just said, you know, do you want to, you know, how do you fancy playing guitar for John Wetton? I said, yeah, I'd love to do that. It'd be great. And
dumb question, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, but to be perfectly honest with you, at the time, I didn't know much about John Wetton or Asia. I didn't, you know, I grew up listening to Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yes,
I think it was her birthday the other day.
I know, yeah, I'm fully, yeah. So, I kind of, you know, I went down to a studio in the New Forest in England, and he was recording an album, and I just remember, you know, you know, that was the first time I kind of met the guy properly. I mean, I spoke to him very briefly at the gig, and I just remember we just got on very well immediately. We had a very similar sense of humor, and it was a very strange day because he was recording this album, and he said, Johnny, I hope you don't mind, but I've got various people coming and going throughout the day recording little parts. And I said, no, that's fine. So I was recording lead guitar, and then Steve Hackett turned up, which was nice. And he started, he was there to record harmonica, because that's his first instrument, believe it or not. Not a lot of people know that about Steve Hackett,
right?
But that's his first instrument, is harmonica. And so he recorded some harmonica on a song that John Wetton wrote with Ringo Starr, which was a strange thing.
What band is he in?
Sorry?
What band is he in? This Ringo character?
The
Beatles.
The score, the
Ruddles?
Crawleys or something.
Yeah, I think their name is a riff on the Buggles or something, you know, something like that.
And I just remember he said, the producer of the album, Steve had finished doing his harmonica, and John said, you know, he said, oh, Steve, why don't you just hang around for a bit and just hang out of the studio? And Steve was like, yeah, I'd love to. You know, he came by train. He said, my train doesn't go for another couple of hours. So I was probably sat about, you know, 3 feet away from Steve Hackett on first day on the job. And I just remember the producer saying, what do you want to do now, John? And he just went, let's do some more lead guitar. And I was like, thanks.
With Steve Hackett sitting there. That's crazy.
So, yeah, that was my first day. And we just always got on really well, John and I. And, you know, there was a period of time when I wasn't playing guitar for him because I was in another band, and there was a bit of a clash of dates. And, you know, we used to meet up every couple of weeks and go to the cinema together and go for an Italian. There was a really nice Italian restaurant. We just used to spend a lot of time just hanging out. He became a very, very, very dear friend of mine. And So yeah, I've sort of, you know, I miss him dearly.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, you know, Harry, what's your story when it comes to discovering John's music? You've done some great cover videos, but what's your journey been? I think that, you know, commercially, the average music fan knows him probably simply from Asia. But when you look at the man's breadth of music, you know, going backwards, UK, Roxy Music, King Crimson, he did some amazing work over decades. What's your journey been through John's lexicon of music?
Yeah, I think it would have been Asia that I heard first. My piano teacher at the time, Tim, he was always sort of saying, you should listen to this, you know, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, listen to these, listen to that. And Asia was one of the things that he gave me to listen to. And I loved all the music. And then, you know, when you sort of Google away and find out who's in the band, and then I found UK. I loved UK. Yeah, that was, Asia was my introduction to John, really. And I always loved his voice. It's sort of this, I love that sort of thick baritone rock thing.
Yeah.
And his bass playing as well, you know, it's such, you know, parts. It's not sort of, there's no showing off sort of bass playing wise, but he can do that. You know, he's always got plenty in the tank sort of thing.
In the back pocket.
Yeah. Pull
Right.
another one, you know. So yeah, it was Asia first and foremost, but sort of,
How old were you?
About 9, I would have said.
It's pretty heavy going.
Yeah.
Piano
Oh,
teacher,
really?
Emerson, Lake and Palmer at 9.
Yeah, listen to this.
Most people, no NSYNC or
No,
Backstreet Boys for you.
No, S Club 7 for me.
No, no.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You know, the other thing I think that people are short to take note of is an amazing lyricist. And when you look at the partnership, the songwriting partnership between Geoff Downes and John Wetton, I think it's right up there with John and Paul, with Jimmy and Robert, all the great songwriter partnerships. I really feel that John Wetton and Geoff Downes should be galvanized in that dictionary of the greatest songwriters when you listen to not just the lyricist partnership, but the musicality between the two of them. Just such an amazing match, you know, between those two. Those are some big boots to fill, you know?
Yeah, I think, and as well, it was like, you know, it was obviously they both sort of forged their careers prior to that, you know, and John obviously being in a lot of bands in the 70s, and then, you know, the way that it just goes to show you actually the fact that, you know, they were very good friends, you know, very, very, very dear friends. And
Yeah.
the fact that, you know, the chemistry was real. And it, you know, I know that the term supergroup is bandied around when, you know, musicians are kind of put together, you know, with a view to, but chemistry is something you can't replicate. And the fact that they had such, you know, a kinship with each other, it's kind of heartwarming to me, you know, the fact that it's you know, the same with the Beatles sort of grew up to, you know, they knew each other from a very early age, but, you know, these guys were like probably in their, you know, late 20s and 30s when they first met, and they'd all,
Yeah.
you know, nice that they kind of, you know, when they got together, they had that not just a musical bond and a good sort of, you know, repartee with each other, but just, you know, they actually, you know, they were friends as well.
Yeah.
You know, that's such a great point, because you take 4 guys like Geoff Downes, John Wetton, Carl Palmer, and Steve Howe, such huge names. And like you said, Geoff and John just forged this songwriting relationship and kinship together. But the other thing is that those 4 created like a whole new musical path together, different from what people knew them from. When you look at King Crimson and Yes and the Buggles and Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and then the first track on the first album, I remember putting it on this material, I don't know if you're familiar, called vinyl, you know, and Heat of the Moment's the first song, and that starts playing. It's like, wait, what? It's not what I expected, you know, and it's great. And that first album has such a nice assortment, but none of it is as proggy as what they were all known for. And it's like they rebranded themselves together as a new brand of music. And I found that really interesting.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, I suppose, you know, it's very easy to be, you know, cynical about the people that come from a progressive and do what you might describe as the genesis, and you go poppy. But I think, you know, good songwriting is good songwriting, and I played a lot of these songs just on acoustic guitar with John over the years, and you know,
They still hold up.
They stand up on their own merit. You know, obviously there's a lot of musical flourishes on the record and whatnot, but you know, he's an incredible writer, and you know, they're both, you know, just like I said, they're just incredible, had an incredible chemistry, and it's really nice actually doing this, you know, because we got had such a kinship with John, as did Geoff, and it's just nice, you know, we'll be sitting around having dinner or whatever with each other and just, you know, oh, do you remember that time that such and such happened? You know, and I've played with Geoff, you know, in the past a long time ago. I went to, you know, I did some shows with John and Geoff, you know, in Icon, and so it's, you know, I've known them both a long time, you know, and it's just really nice, you know, it's I keep forgetting, you know, Geoff came to my 40th birthday party, and I've been to Jeff's big birthday party. You know, we kind of, you know, there's a strong bond between all of us. It's nice. It's really nice, you know.
That's great
To be doing this for personal reasons, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So last August was what sort of set in motion this upcoming Heat of the Moment tour that's coming to North America in July. So last August, there was a John Wetton, An Extraordinary Life tribute concert at Trading Boundaries, and it was quite a star-studded webcast that honored him very well. And you two performed a bit of Asia with Geoff. Tell us about that whole experience.
Yeah,
it's a very strange. I'd never met this guy at that point. We kind of all just turned up here. Funnily enough, this is
it was literally probably about now.
This time right about now.
Yeah.
Oh
wow.
Yeah, because it's almost a year, isn't it, since Trading Boundaries? And
we kind of got here, and I didn't really know what I was supposed to be doing. I was initially, when I got asked to do it, I just thought I was doing like one song on the evening. There's a song that I recorded. I did a version of John's, which I was very, very fond of. Got a song called Battle Lines, and I thought I was just going to be turning up.
It's a great song.
Yeah, it is a great song, and playing that acoustically and singing it, and then I think a couple of days before, it's like, John, can you learn this, and this? And I'm like, yes, I can.
Yeah. And
then we turn up, and it's like, you know, Billy Sherwood was here, and Jay was here, and and before you know it, there was like a, you know, we kind of
it was similarly to me, really. I thought I didn't quite know what I was doing.
Exactly, and then something very strange happened, which was that my belt broke, and my trousers started falling down. And this guy stepped up. There weren't any shops open.
No.
And he gave me his spare belt.
You still got it to this day, haven't you?
I'm still wearing it now.
Still got it.
That's a total Spinal Tap moment right there.
That's what friends are for.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. And Bill Bruford was there.
Yeah.
Did everybody like bow and curtsy when you walked in the room?
Yeah. It was really surreal. I think
He was incredibly nervous, is what I remember about that. Because you got to remember, I don't think he picked up drumsticks in about 10 years.
That's right.
He was
14 years.
He retired. Very, very, very nervous.
Yeah, I could feel the nerves from across the room.
And then when he played very quietly. It's like you could barely hear him.
I think he sound checked just after us as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
And we'd sort of gone for it because it was the first opportunity for us to sort of properly gig volume, have a go.
And Joe hits them hard.
Oh yeah, it was loud.
And then Bill sort of got on and was very timid and like.
Yeah.
They didn't play Ghostbusters, did they?
No, they didn't. Why are you singing?
I don't know.
No, they didn't.
That's interesting because Bill's very, like, his personality is very professorial, and here he became a professor of music, and he plays that way too. So all of that makes sense. But during that performance, did either of you have any inkling that this would lead to an official new Asia lineup, or were you both caught completely by surprise when this came about?
I had no idea.
No, not really.
No.
I think,
why are we here?
Yeah. What? Yeah. I think it was obvious that people enjoyed it, and Geoff especially. It was obvious that Geoff really enjoyed playing the material.
Really had a whale of a time.
Yeah.
And you know, he was just beaming throughout. And
Yeah,
it was just nice to see.
Yeah.
And you
Is
know,
there?
it was an event that was obviously tinged with sadness. We were commemorating a great man, and you know,
Right.
it was a real nice. And also, you know, that's a tiny venue. You've got to remember that's a tiny venue that we did that in.
Yeah,
And the logistically speaking, it was like
it was incredible.
and we had the kids from Fame, didn't we?
Yeah.
And so it was logistically, and there was a lot of stress. And my friend Boz was stage manager, and he was tearing his hair out, and it was just. But it was such a great day. It was really, really, really great day.
I remember backstage they had this enormous easel that had A4 sheets written out for every song where everybody was going to be. And it was, I've never seen so many sheets lined up. It was like something out of the War Office. It was sort of,
Oh wow!
logistic nightmare. Like I would have.
I mean, the fact, I think, didn't somebody have a nervous, I think having a nervous breakdown.
Somebody collapsed,
somebody
didn't they?
fainted.
Yeah.
Through the stress. Yeah, I mean, it was just really, and it was really nice to, it was just nice to play because I played a lot of those. Well, it's, you know, like now rehearsing here, you know, I've played a lot of those songs in the past with John and with Geoff, and it's just nice to sort of, you know, they're kind of part of, you know, the huge part of my history, you know, as a musician has been with either John or Geoff or together, and now this, so it feels like it's come full circle, you know. But no, on the day we weren't really aware that it was gonna, you know, it was a nice thing to do, and everybody had a great time, and we had no idea whatsoever that it was going to lead to this.
I don't think you can go into a situation like that expecting something from it as well. I think it's sort of, especially for me, like it was such a high pressure thing because I'm playing with people that I've seen on YouTube for, you know.
Well, not me, obviously.
Well, no, not you. But
I've spent the last 30 years in the shop as far as Harry's concerned.
Yeah, exactly. John, who?
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really sort of high pressure situation, and I was sort of more concerned about sort of getting through that rather than sort of thinking, oh, I wonder if we'll do anything else after this.
Right. So
but,
then what's the link between then and now? Did Geoff have that epiphany when he saw you guys at that event? Did something transpire in the meantime? Did he call you directly? Did management call? How did it come about?
I tell you what, like I've said before previously, and we were talking about John and Geoff, and you know, they had a great kinship with each other. And let's be honest, without swinging the pendulum of blame, but you know, historically, certain bands, you know, it's quite history. No, not across the wide world of music.
Yeah.
You know, some bands, it's quite well known that they don't, you know, on a personality level, they don't click with each other, or they don't get on, or they don't. But you know what? What matters to me more than anything is the fact that, you know, I've been in bands with, you know, I've been in bands since the dawn of time, and it does matter. The camaraderie and the chemistry that you have with other people is important, you know. To me, it matters a lot to me. And I think one of the things that I think perhaps that really did, you know, that me and him got on instantly, like we'd known each other for years.
Well, there were so many people that were saying that they assumed we knew each other beforehand.
Prior,
like,
yeah.
So when did you two, you know?
Yeah.
And we never had. We just sort of.
You know, we just kind of we got on really well immediately, and I've always got on with Geoff. And you know, if you know, you're going to be going on a great long tour, or you know, in considerable amount of time in other people's company, I think it does. You know, you can all take separate limos to the gig, but what's the point of that? You know,
we are, aren't we?
Well, well, I mean, this is just an act. Obviously.
I've got balloon. That's how.
Hot air balloon.
Yeah.
That's great.
I think that to me it does matter. You know, if you know, you can't stand to be in the same room with somebody. You know, music is such a beautiful thing, and I'm just incredibly hippie-ish. It is such a beautiful thing that if you're going to make music with somebody, I think you owe it to the music to have a certain amount of kinship with the person that you're making music with. You know?
Yeah, it's one of the deepest expressions one can release, especially in front of people. I can't imagine doing that with people that I couldn't get along with. It just, how can you express something so deeply like that?
Yeah,
you know?
no, exactly. And I think you know as well. You're in a. It's got to be a shared experience, and you're in a room full of, well, hopefully, in a room full of people.
Yeah.
And you know, they can tell. You can't fake chemistry.
That's true.
They can tell when you get on with somebody and when you're having a good time, and that radiates back. It's like an exchange. So
Yeah.
if you hate the person to the left of you, it's not the. To me, it feels like a false exchange. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is nobody to the
I was
left.
going to say there is nobody there.
No,
is
I've
there?
just got
checking.
some 80s synthesizers and things.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, and so the quartet of this lineup was completed with the inclusion of Virgil Donati, who had been the drummer in the UK and played with John Wetton in the 2010s as part of UK. When was he added to the lineup, and what's your guys' first impression of him? You told us before that you just met him today.
Yeah, you know, obviously Cal's got other commitments with his Emerson, Lake and Palmer, return to Emerson, Lake and Palmer sort of thing. So
right.
Geoff wanted to do this, so I think they put the call out to sort of brainstorm. I think actually you were involved a bit, weren't you? With sort of
I was involved.
Yeah, with who
might be applicable.
Who shall pick up the sticks? And
so,
yeah.
So you know, and as I say, it's important that there's a through line with all of this, and like you say, Virgil had played with John in the iteration of UK, and you know, and again, it's important that you know he fits in and he's a team player, and that's kind of why the you know, I'm not saying that other drummers, you know, everyone else is a massive pain.
Yeah, they were all
just spending, you know, I think he's a very, you know,
easygoing.
Australians have got a very similar sense of humour to us lot, really.
Yeah.
You know, there's that, you know, a lot of people find our sense of humour quite, you know, a bit too, what's the word?
Yeah, how can we phrase this?
Too as dry as a desert.
Yeah.
I don't go down too well stateside in the comedy department.
Maybe, yeah.
But, you know, we amuse ourselves at least.
Yeah, I laugh.
That's funny.
Yeah.
What's it like working with Geoff? And do you ever still think like, wow, I can't believe I'm doing this, it's incredible? Or does it feel very natural and organic? I hear that he's very difficult. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
He is the most unflappable person, I think.
If he was any more laid back, he'd fall over.
No, he is extremely very quiet, you know. And again, I first met Geoff in about 1998, not far from here, actually, in Loco Studios. And, you know, he's just a very quiet guy, you know. But and when you get to know him, obviously, you know, but he has what he does. He is a lot of his humour. His eyes, you know, he's kind of he's
that's great.
Yeah, eye contact.
Well, we played one of the songs that's going to be on the set list, and at the end of the song, something happens, and he just gave us all one look, and that was it. I just couldn't play. I looked at him, he looked at me, and I was just, no, we need to do this again.
He is. Yeah,
he's very funny,
very droll.
Yeah. But
it's
great.
But yeah, he's just great. He's a quiet guy. You know, he's not. You know, he's he's just he's always been, you know, very. And John and him, like I said, they got on like a house on fire, and you know, they had that kinship, and
he was always my number one as well. I always loved Geoff's playing because, like, piano player first and foremost. I always loved Geoff's playing. It was just so tasteful. The sort of chord stuff. He was never really a sort of.
Always talking about it.
Right.
Yeah. What was that again? Was it like a pigeon?
Yeah, that's it's just his voicings and his sort of time. You know, he always had a great
that's what
feel.
John used to say about him. Is, you know, he's got some, you know, his use of sounds and textures. Because, you know, and I always, it's like, and also, you know, from a production point of view as well, you know.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier. We were talking earlier about Kate Bush and Kate Bush's guitar player, Del Palmer. He died at the beginning of this year, and I just got talking to Geoff about it because there's an auction in Reading for a lot of his guitars and stuff. And I said, did you? I said, Geoff, did you know Kate Bush? And yeah, I knew. And then I turned round, and then
there's a big gold disc.
There's a massive, great gold disc. Kate Bush. Of course you did. Silly me. But he was one of the first guys to have a Fairlight in the UK, along with Peter Gabriel.
Yeah, that's right.
Trevor Horn, obviously, and Kate Bush. And so they kind of, it was. It's with Geoff. It's always been about finding the part that works and being tasteful with it. And I've always loved his keyboard playing. And
he's always had more of a orchestral approach, if you will.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly. And finding a place within the track that's not
Yeah, it's one of those as well. Like you hear what he's doing, but then obviously in this set, like when we've been rehearsing the songs the first couple of days, we were just sort of sat around the piano with Geoff playing and sort of hearing the parts that he's got in there, like when he sort of brings it back to like the bare bones of what's in the song.
Yeah, the root of everything.
Oh, it's such a thrill to see Geoff play those songs.
Well, the amount of attention to detail as well when you're programming, and putting the sounds together and actually, caring about it, giving the duty of care that the music deserves.
Yeah.
And also during this process as well, because you've got to remember a lot of these songs that we're playing have got huge harmony parts, vocal harmonies.
Right.
And really, really, really.
And that's a whole other dimension to the Asian music. There's the songwriting, there's the whole soundscape. And a huge part of the soundscape is exactly what you just said. It's very much a vocal band. And when you listen to that first album, that's a lot to live up to. Like the music is one thing, right? Let's set that over here for a moment. The whole vocal thing and to reproduce that live in any lineup is really a tall order.
Yeah.
How do you guys take that approach? Does Geoff kind of conduct that? Do you work out the harmonies and emulate the original recordings? What's that approach like?
Well, we've got the multi-tracks up for all of the songs that are in the set list, and we've sort of been going through all of the parts. And we're going to play Heat at the moment. And
are we?
Yeah.
I mean, it's the name of the tour, so yes.
Right.
It'd be surprising if you didn't.
That'd be funny, actually. I say you leave it out just for some of that dry humor.
Just gonna And we were going through the harmonies and sort of literally singing it a cappella, weren't we? Just sort of going through.
That's actually, that's one of the things I love the most about this process is, just the amount of care and attention that these harmony, the vocal parts have had. Because obviously, I've sung in a number of bands over the years and played guitar, obviously. And it's just nice that the sound of the voices together.
It's a really nice blend, and we're not just singing sort of thirds above everything. Like Heat at the moment, like one of us has got the ninth, one of us has got the fifth, and they're not just sort of following each other. We've all got lines that sort of sit.
Yeah, it's again a very orchestral approach to the vocal harmonies.
That is something that we've really, really tried to nail this time. Like with Asia going back out, like we want it to obviously be amazing. And we're really pulling out all of the stops sort of vocally to sort of make sure that you get that thick sound. It's sort of, if we're going to do it, we're going to do it as, as best as we can do it,
So I have a question about that. Do you happen to know, looking back years and years later at that first album, the whole vocal approach, do you happen to know how much of that thickness and the depth of those lush vocals was Geoff and John's approach, or how much of that was Mike Stone's input as the producer? Do you know?
John, let's say.
It's John. John, he I mean, I worked with him a lot, and he loved stacking vocals. I mean, he just did. Because his brother, when he first got into music, his brother played organ in the church, and he was always fascinated by, like a lot of Baroque music and the way that, the counterpoint and three-part harmony. And that really was his thing. And I loved being in the studio with him. And he would always say to he always says, you know the secret? He said, Johnny, do you know the secret? He goes, most people just double track things. Me, I raspberry them. I said, what do you mean? He goes, raspberry ripple. I triple track them.
Yeah.
So all John's vocals on those Asia records, like, when I do backing vocals on a record, I would always just have a left and a right harmony and another left and a right harmony. John would always have everything in triplicate to give it a really, really thick sound. One in the center, low parts just slightly panned out, higher parts panned out further, but always 3 tracks. So you've always got layer and layer of 3 tracks, and that's what gives it such a rich sound, Yeah. And that was very much John, But like I say, Geoff, is the consummate, consummate. His understanding of music theory, I remember some of the emails when we first started talking about rehearsals, and I think it's important somebody sings the minor third and you're singing the minor sixth. So we kind of, he understands music theory like no other, and he knows. We spent a lot of time working out parts that we're all going to sing that don't get in the way of each other, and it's just that's the exciting part for me.
That's great.
I want the vocals to sound incredible.
And to be fair, the 3 of us together, we've got a great blend. Like our voices blend really well.
Well, me and you've got like a similar kind of range.
Yeah. And I think I've got the sort of thinner voice, so I think it's sort of I can sit on top a little bit.
I've got the film announcer voice.
Yeah, exactly.
I can do coming to a cinema near you.
Asia will return to identification.
That's great. Thanks for answering that. That it sheds a lot of light on the part of the signature sound of Asia that you are going to bring.
But obviously,
back to
Mike
life.
Stone did Queen, so he's not unfamiliar with hitting record multiple times.
Yeah, and
with
again,
a vocalist.
and
again. Although, do you remember that film Bohemian Rhapsody?
Yeah.
Wasn't it weird? That bit where the guy playing Roger Taylor and they go sing higher, and he just keeps singing the same note. Did you not think that?
Yeah.
Sing higher.
Yeah.
Sing higher. Sing higher. Surely somebody should have said, he's not singing any higher.
That's the same note, that is, mate.
That's the same note.
But that, honestly, sort of hearing the backing vocals sort of here, it's so much going on. Like, it is not just sort of a third above. Like, there are some harmonies in there that are so tight. It's like, I remember there's a documentary about the Steely Dan album, Aja.
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 That was a soft J.
Yeah, we'll go with that. And they're protecting all the harmonies, and like they're so close. Like if you listen to you can't listen to anybody else when you're singing those parts. And like when we were running Heat of the Moment earlier on, like some of the parts that we can't listen to each other because they're so close. Like you think you're about to sort of rub against each other, and it sort of spreads apart again. It's such a great sound. It is such a great sound.
And it's really it's a real buzz. I mean, always like that. There's that footage of when the Eagles are backstage and warming up, and they all just sing a chorus together without any, but with completely a cappella.
Yeah.
And we were doing that earlier, and I was thinking, this is a real, you don't always get that in a band where you get, it's in, at least 3 people singing BVs, and with the due care and attention that we're giving it.
Yeah, that's the thing. We've taken the time to just sort of to nail it because it deserves it.
It's
the music deserves
it. It's 50% of the sound of Asia.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, maybe 60.
57.5%. 58.2.
So, what are your guys' favorite Asia tunes then?
Or do you even like any of them?
I mean, that's really tricky. I've got a few that I like. I like some of the more obscure ones. I like Eye to Eye. I really like that one. And Bury Me in Willow, Faithful.
Oh, I love Bury Me in Willow.
Yeah,
it's probably my favorite Asia song.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, I like some of the obscure, but I love things like Soul Survivor as well. Like it just.
Oh, I love that song. Yeah.
Yeah.
That and
that is it. That I love. That's it. We'll go with that.
Yeah.
You should work.
I love that.
Yeah.
John, how about you?
Extraordinary Life.
Yeah.
I really like the it's just got a sound to it. I know, it was I mixed an Asia record. I don't know if you know that. I mixed the album Gravitas, and so,
that was 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
wow.
It was. Yeah, and it's
wow.
So I working on an album, and mixing an album. A lot of the time, I grew very fond of those songs. It was I really like the song Valkyrie as well.
Yeah.
Valkyrie. I
Also
mean, what an
Canada.
intro.
Come on.
Yeah.
Everybody
up. Yeah.
So the new Asia tour has been in the works for a while. Does Geoff have the set list set in stone, or is the process closer to starting from scratch now, or do each of you guys have some input on suggesting what you want to play? If you don't mind, and if you can reveal, how is that all coming together, or was it already put together when you guys came into the fold?
It was just a case that
There's certain songs you have to play.
there are certain songs you have to play.
Yeah. Are you guys doing Freebird again?
You have to have, obviously, you don't want to turn up here not knowing what you're doing, so get sent a set list and
we've got a good, obviously there's Curved Air, Martin Turner, ex Wishbone Ash, and Focus that are on the tour with us, but we're playing like quite a long set. We're not just going to be playing for sort of half an hour, 40 minutes. We're playing a good few songs,
Isn't it crazy? You think about it. Back in the day when bands like the Who used to go on stage, they used to play for like 60 minutes.
Yeah.
We're
not doing that.
We're
over that.
But on the other hand, we're not doing Springsteen. We're not doing 4 hours.
We're not Ken Dodd.
No, we're
Prague.
not.
Yeah, and you mentioned all those bands that are going to be on the tour as well, and it kind of reminds me of the last time that Asia toured 5 years ago, the Royal Affair tour. I'm actually wearing this shirt right now. There were 4 bands there as well, and on this upcoming tour, you also got Roger Dean, and it kind of gives me that, then and now, it gives me the feeling of a big collaborative event. Was that sort of the intention behind this upcoming tour with all the different bands?
I mean, yeah, because it was Geoff that really masterminded the whole thing. I'm not sure about sort of when that decision was made with Geoff, or sort of if he'd been planning it since sort of Trading Boundaries. But I know that I think the band choice as well was Geoff's idea. I think, isn't it? The whole idea of the sort of Heat of the Moment tour with these people was Geoff's idea, and I think it's a great mix of music as well. Like, there's differences, but they're similar enough to sort of. It's not like you've got Philip Glass opening and then we're going to play, and then it's,
Philip Glass. What did you think of that?
30 seconds.
30 seconds of Schoenberg.
Yeah.
And then Shawani.
Yeah.
Funny. What could be on the horizon beyond, I'm going to call it this leg of the tour? Are you guys going to go more to the Midwest and the south of the U.S.? Are you coming to the West Coast? Steve's in Southern California. I'm actually at one of our daughter's homes in Las Vegas, where we used to live, but we live in Arizona now. Are you coming out this way? Are you going through Europe? What do you have future plans beyond the dates that are set?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good.
I think. I mean, nothing's set in stone. Everything's a possibility.
Okay.
So there is talk about as I say, we're not gonna. It's not just a. I don't think it's a one-off deal, is it? I don't know.
No.
And I have to ask this question following that. Is there talks of the 4 of you putting new material together as Asia?
John?
I mean, Geoff has hinted at it in certain interviews, and I'd love to. I believe there was some songs that were in the offing with John and Geoff before John sadly passed. It'd be nice to sort of, come full circle and complete them.
Carry that on.
Yeah. And I'd certainly love to work with Geoff. And Geoff mentioned he'd like to work with me on them, and I'd love to do that. And yeah, totally.
That's great.
I'm as I say, I just I love working with Geoff. I've always loved working with Geoff. Love hanging out with Harry, and totally.
Not working with me though, just hanging out.
Well, he's just game of golf or something.
Yeah. Rounders.
9 holes, not 18.
No.
Couldn't handle that.
That's great. Yeah. We would welcome that for sure.
Yeah. And I'll go ahead and share the graphics real quick and then read a couple comments. Just gotta
make sure they're nice comments.
We don't.
No, yeah, they are. Okay, so here's the graphic with the lineup. It's really well designed, and you got the names of the groups featured: Focus, Martin Turner, Curved Air, Roger Dean. And there's also this graphic with the tour dates. It's a little cut off on here, so people can go to originalasia.com and see all the tour dates and try to see them if they're anywhere near you. Just gotta love that dragon. Roger Dean was incredible making that. And so now for the comments, we got Mark Cockram. It says, "Hi, Harry."
Hi, Mark.
And,
I know Mark.
yeah. Do you know him?
I do, yeah. He's got a podcast, All of Time and Space. It's a Doctor Who podcast.
Oh, nice. I love Doctor Who.
Have you been paying people to come on this?
Oh, right. I'll just check off now. Let me just...
Oh my God, Steve's like a major Doctor Who fan. Absolutely.
Yeah, like I don't just watch the TV show, I also listen to the audio dramas.
Yeah.
Well, we have a mutual friend that has in the past, Jez Fielder, has done a lot of voiceover stuff.
Oh, that's cool. Steve,
Yeah.
you'll have to connect with Mark.
Nice. Yeah, and Joe Waller also tuning
Hey, Joe.
in. And Roger Wilson says, please bring some dates to the UK. So there you go. You see that there's a hunger for more Asia in the UK. Yeah. And
we got one person at least.
Yeah. We'll
I mean, there's only a few people in the UK, so you know.
Yeah, there's not us.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know this, but Roger Dean is actually opening on banjo on this tour, right?
I heard he was beatboxing, but okay.
Right. And and Dave Watkinson says, this is so meaningful for John Wetton and his legacy, family, and friends. I wish you all well. Yes, that big lush sound, but clarity in those moments. I was there at Wembley for the first tour. And yeah, all of this really does feel like it's well thought out and with the intention of honoring John Wetton and the Asia legacy. I definitely feel that vibe here.
Yeah, that was something that was really important to me, actually, that I sort of, when I got asked to do this, sort of, as in we're going to do Asia, you know, I wasn't going to do it unless everybody was happy with me doing it, because, you know, it's sort of, there's a huge legacy there. And I didn't want to just sort of come in and sort of, you know, I love the music. Like, I'm a fan as well as sort of now being in the band, which is sort of like bizarre. But like, I wouldn't want to come in and just sort of, if people were uncomfortable with it, like I know that Lisa and Dylan have been really supportive with the whole tour and management, you know, Martin and Maria and everybody have sort of been, and Geoff especially, you know.
Yeah.
They're all sort of, as long as they're happy, I'm happy. If they weren't, I wouldn't do it.
What about me? Does it matter if I'm happy?
Well, you know, 60%. As Meatloaf said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, you know. That's
yeah. That's great. I remember when the album came out, and I remember the day it was released, running and getting the vinyl and putting it on. And I remember seeing them on the first tour at the Santa Monica Civic in Southern California. And then right after the show, they did a signing, the 4 of them, at Tower Records on Sunset in Hollywood, and getting to meet them all for the very first time right after the show. And the show was amazing. It really was. It was just, well, it was just them, but there was a guy that opened for them that, if I remember correctly, he was, I think, a juggler, and then also did one of those things where, have you seen, I can't remember his name, but he did a painting to music, and he was throwing paint at this giant canvas, and it looked extremely abstract. And when he was done, he turned this giant thing over, and it was Jimi Hendrix. And that's what their opening act was. And then they came on and played the whole album and a couple other things that ended up being on the next album. But it was just such a thrill to see in my time, the first super group, if you will. It was amazing. It really was. And it's great to see what you guys are doing now, decades later.
I'm a bit more chilled out than that. I'd probably have Bob Ross.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's just put a little bit of Asia here.
Yeah.
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 Halo blue.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's just put a little sphere next to this dragon.
Yeah,
Yes.
Well, we're excited for you guys.
Yeah.
Come on, Roger.
Please come out to the western side of the U.S., for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
You have huge fans out this way that I know would love to, see this honoring of, like Steve said, John Wetton and the Asia legacy of music. One thing that can be absolutely said about Asia, that, now that I think of it, there's very few bands, music, that people can make the following claim, and that is that, Led Zeppelin's been emulated, even the Beatles have been emulated, Journey's been emulated, we can go on and on. There isn't anyone that sounds like Asia. No one else has done something like that.
No.
And that's a huge thing,
As well, something I've always that's always amazed me is that I read not that long ago a statistic which was that in 1982, I think 1 in every 5 households in America had the Asia record. And,
Wow.
For a band, that ostensibly, it wasn't a straight ahead pop band. They had some pretty intense musicality going on, and so for a band, and also in 1982, when you got to remember that it was all new wave, it was just post punk, and bands were quite stripped back when you had a lot of quite sort of
new wave was emerging big time, and spandex and hairspray, pop metal, all of that.
No. I love a lot of those bands. I mean, I grew up, listening to the Cars and stuff, and I love all of that. But it's just, for a band, I suppose, it was just, to me, that's an incredible fact. That they were. I had no idea that they were that popular in the States. So
yeah.
I should say as well that if anybody is coming to the gigs, you can get VIP packages as well. So if you want to meet everybody and get pictures, and you get a laminate and all that jazz, you can upgrade to a VIP package as well.
Great.
Just getting that in the tick.
Highly recommended. Guys, thanks so much for sharing this blossoming experience. We'd love to have you on again as things progress. We hope to see you out on the West Coast. And I know there's people in the UK, Europe, and even Asia, coincidentally, I'm sure South America, that would just love to see you guys. Maybe in that weird foreign third world country of Canada. I'm sure they would appreciate you.
I thought you were going to say Australia.
Well, there's that.
We're playing Niagara Falls, aren't we? So that's technically over the border.
Well, that falls over the
that
falls within the remit of
I'd say that's
two countries.
Yeah.
That particular.
We're
playing in a rowing boat in the middle of it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, hang on the line with us after we say goodbye to the audience. And folks, thanks for joining Stephen, myself, John, and Harry here on Yesshift, and those watching on Drum Talk TV as well. You can follow us on our respective channels. Just type in the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Vimeo with either Drum Talk TV or Yesshift, and you'll find us. And you can write us at Yesshift if you have ideas, comments, complaints, suggestions, or if you just want to say hi at yesshiftpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, and if you type in Yesshift in podcast apps, you'll probably find us as well. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. And again, check out Asia on this upcoming The Heat of the Moment tour here in North America in July. So lots of great stuff. So thanks for tuning in, everyone.
Thanks for having us.